Once ready to defend their homeland against a U.S. invasion, Canadians now have a crazy reason to thank Donald Trump. Seriously. Welcome to Occupy Democrats. I'm David Reddish. One of the biggest casualties of Donald Trump's stupid trade war has been the United States' relationship with its closest neighbor, Canada. Few countries have enjoyed the peaceful relations as the U.S. did with its northern neighbor. But, like all things in the era of Trump, that has shifted into something dark and depressing.
I told the President that I will be working hard for the next month to earn the right to represent Canada in those discussions, to get the best deal for Canada under the new U.S. approach. At the same time, Canada must be looking elsewhere to expand our trade, to build our economy, and to protect our sovereignty. Canada is ready to take a leadership role in building a coalition of like-minded countries who share our values.
You know, Mark Carney, the new Canadian Prime Minister, should also be thanking Trump. He owes his popularity to a last-minute shift in public opinion brought about by Trump's trade war. But that's not the real reason Canadians should be grateful. And no, I'm not being sarcastic. Stay with us. Due in part to Canadian resistance to Trump's delusional thinking that the nation should become the 51st state, and by the way, for the upteenth time, Canada has many provinces that, in the event it tried to join the United States, would likely become states unto themselves, thus tipping the Washington balance of power away from the GOP forever. So I don't know, maybe it's not a bad idea. In any case, thanks to Trump's saber-rattling, Canada has vowed a boycott on American goods. Trump has responded with this attitude.
Canada has been very tough to deal with over the years. And
his reiteration of tariff threats against Canada said to have brought gasps in the crowd, seeming to suggest if Canada doesn't do his bidding, the U.S. could simply stop buying.
We don't need them to make our cars, and they make a lot of them. We don't need their lumber because we have our own forests, et cetera, et cetera. We don't need their oil and gas. We have more than anybody. My message to every business in the world is very simple. Come make your product in America, and we will give you among the lowest taxes of any nation on earth. But if you don't make your product in America, which is your prerogative, then very simply you will have to pay a tariff.
And there's more. He called for oil prices and interest rates to drop, suggested talks with Russia could reduce nuclear weaponry worldwide, and said he'll be asking Saudi Arabia to invest $1 trillion in the U.S.
To anyone in Canada currently watching, on behalf of the American people, I am so sorry. Look, no intelligent person thinks this trade war is a good idea. We know it will only hurt our nation, not to mention Trump's behavior is just rude to a friend so good to the U.S. as Canada. But I digress. Amid all the tariffs and Trump's flip-flopping on all of it, there is good news for Canada, and dreadful news for the United States. I turn your attention toward this graph. This graph comes to us via Bloomberg News. It shows the amount of oil imports from the United States and Canada to China, one of Trump's other major targets in this trade war that's going to bite all Americans in the behind. Notice the white line there? That's the amount of oil China imports from Canada. Notice how it is now higher than the blue line, which represents the amount of oil China imports from the United States. That is unprecedented. The Financial Post also reports that the Canadian oil exports to China correlate with a massive drop in China's purchase of U.S. oil. Their orders have dropped by roughly 90%. At the time of this report, the U.S. economy stands to lose $20 billion as a result. And of course, this is just one corner of the economy. This says nothing of the boycotts of American products and companies in Canada and China, nor does it address President Xi lifting bans on preservation of foreign trademarks. The Chinese, as we all know, have a nasty penchant for offering knockoff American goods or disregarding copyrights, but now Xi is actually encouraging Chinese merchants to do so. And this will carry over to officially licensed products and goods in China as well. Chinese businesses that normally supply goods to foreign companies are now selling them to consumers directly. Forget spending hundreds of dollars on a pair of designer shoes or sunglasses. The Chinese are offering them for pocket change. And this is just the beginning. Donald Trump may think his trade war will strengthen the economy and encourage domestic production, but so far, that's only true for foreign nations and not the United States. And there is no reason to believe that will change. Donald Trump has signed a death warrant for the American economy, and as Americans mourn, Canadians have a reason to celebrate. Trump has also handed the Canadian economy a massive win. This is Occupy Democrats.